I got a question this past week from a basketball player asking me about how he could be more confident when the ball is in his hands. And he was also asking about, not feeling very confident around a certain teammate because this player is a little shy. So what I want to do is I want to talk about how you can be more confident when you have the ball in your hand. And this is going to apply to you if you are a basketball player, a soccer player, but the principles that I'm talking about will actually apply to you as well. Just if you're a baseball player, a tennis player, any sport that you play, because we're going to focus on having confidence in yourself in the moment to execute your skill. So the first place that we want to look whenever we're talking about having confidence when you have the ball in your hands or when you are trying to just perform your best in the moment is what you are focusing on. Now, whenever I'm talking about what you're focused on, for the most part, this isn't something you are consciously aware of in the moment, and it's not something you're trying to be focused on in the moment. But the reason that we want to look at what are you focused on in the moment, if you struggle right now when you do have the ball in your hands, is because if you're focusing too much on missing, making mistakes, letting other people down, or anything like that, we will naturally see your confidence drop, because our confidence in the moment is directly linked to what we're focused on and what we are thinking about. So for yourself, what are you focused on in the moment whenever you are feeling less confident? For that basketball player who asked me the question, he also mentioned that he's worried about his teammate. So I'm going to guess that he's worried about letting his teammate down, having his teammate get mad at him, letting his team down, having his coach get mad at him, anything like that. But for the most part, I would simplify it even more to say he's probably focused on not wanting to make a mistake, not wanting to screw up when he has the ball in his hands, right? So for yourself, if you are a basketball player, a soccer player, you have the ball either in your hands, you have possession of the ball. When you have that, are you focused more right now on not wanting to make a mistake? Or do you give more attention and you're more focused on wanting to perform well in that moment, wanting to succeed, right? And do everything that you can to help your team. Both of those kind of get us to the same result, where if you're worried about not wanting to make a mistake or you want to perform really well, they both get us to the result of you doing well, right? Because if you don't want to make a mistake, the way you don't make mistakes is by playing well. But it's the way in which you play as a result of what you're focused on that we really want to pay attention to. Because if you're focused more on not wanting to make a mistake, especially if you already struggle with lower confidence, what do you think will happen to your aggressiveness? Or what do you think will happen to your ability to play at just the highest level that you can? We know it will go down because naturally you'll focus more on hiding, playing timidly, holding yourself back because you don't want to make mistakes because that's what you're focused on, right? That's your goal, not making mistakes. On the other hand, if you are focused more on wanting to play your best, wanting to go out there, be aggressive, help your team, and you're wanting to succeed, you will find yourself beginning to play more confident, more aggressive. So that's the first place that we want to look. What are you focused on in the moment when you have possession of the ball, or in the moment when you're up to bat, getting ready to serve, just any time you are about to execute your skills? And that will show you where this drop in confidence is coming from. Now, what can you do about this in terms of an actionable strategy? Well, the first thing that you want to focus on is you want to focus on being more in the moment. And the way that you do this is having one simple goal. This one goal will be known as an objective for you in that moment. So if we think back to what I was just talking about in terms of your focus and your attention, if your attention is too much on not wanting to make a mistake, what other people will think, or anything like that, we know that in that moment, you're not focused on what you need to be doing to actually perform your skill well. So yeah, our goal is to take your attention off of those worries, because if we can take your attention off those worries, you will feel more in the moment, and then naturally your confidence will start to rise. But in all honesty, we're not even concerned about your confidence right now. We're more concerned with just what are you focused on. And by focusing on one simple objective or one simple goal in that moment, you take control over your thinking and your focus to a point where you don't allow it so much to go on to those other things and those outcomes and those worries, because you tell yourself to only focus on this one objective. So for the basketball player, what I would recommend is when you have the ball in your hands, focus on one simple objective. That might be to drive to the basket if you usually have the ball in your hands when you're in a position to drive to the basket and make something happen. It also might be to focus just on the rim if you're talking about having the ball in your hands when you have the opportunity to shoot or to score. There's actually a basketball player that I'm working with right now in one-on-one coaching who only has the objective when he gets the ball of focusing on the rim when he's shooting, and he's seen a lot of success with his shots getting better because he's focusing on one objective, one goal, and he's allowing himself to just shoot. And by the way, if you are interested in learning more about the one-on-one coaching I offer, I've put a link to that in the description below. So for yourself, just think of one very simple objective. Now, if we transfer this to a different sport, so let's say softball, for example, the same principle will apply. Whether you are pitching, whether you're fielding, or whether you're hitting, you want to have one simple objective to focus on. Now, I know that's not necessarily me talking about increasing your confidence, but for right now, from the beginning and for you to get started, I'm honestly not that concerned with you increasing confidence, because we have to change your focus. That's what we have to work on first. If we change your focus in the moment, you free yourself up to start playing better. When you start playing better, you start playing more aggressively, naturally we'll start to see this confidence grow because you'll have more belief in yourself to execute your skills in the moment. So the first thing you want to focus on is, what can I do in the moment to allow myself to play more aggressively and more freely when I am right now holding myself back and having less confidence. Now, the second part to this is where we start to work on your confidence. And so the second part to this is, after practices and games, you want to make sure you are going back and you are looking at the positives. Earlier this morning, I was working with a tennis player. We were on a one-on-one call, and we were talking a lot about confidence this morning, actually. And we were talking about belief specifically, the belief that she has in herself to win. And the one thing I was telling her was that we're not even concerned about the belief to win right now. We want to focus more on your belief to go out there and just execute your skills as well as you can, right? Play point by point the best that you can, and just trust that you can go out there and play the way that you want to play. And the way that kind of belief is built, what she and I were talking about, is on an ongoing basis where you say, I have to give myself and feed myself positive thoughts that are true, right? You're not lying to yourself, but positive thoughts that are true, where I focus on the things I did well. And over time, the more I focus on those things that went well, my confidence will increase because the belief is being built. So right now, if you are less confident when you have the ball in your hand, if you're less confident when you're up to bat, whenever it might be in a game, you want to make sure that on an ongoing basis, you are doing the most that you can to fuel the belief of confidence. And that belief comes from reviewing the positives from your performance. Now, there are always positives from your performance. Even if you don't feel like you played that well, there are still positives. But right now, if you tend to be a self-critical player, and if you feel like your confidence isn't as high as you would like, I would challenge you to be very honest with yourself and think, do I spend more time focusing on the positives of my game? Or do I spend more time focusing on the negatives, the things that I wish I had done better, the things I want to do better? If you focus more on the negatives, it makes sense why your belief wouldn't be as high as you want it to be. If you focus more on the positives, and then you give yourself time and you do this consistently, naturally your confidence will grow. So that's the second part to this. The first part, focus on one objective when you play. The second part to this is make sure you are focusing on those positives after every practice and every game. Now, another part of this, or the third part to this, is where in practice right now, I would encourage you to choose 1 or 2 moments to be more aggressive. You can also start to translate this to games, but you want to first focus on it in practice. So what this means is, if you're struggling when you have the ball in your hands, you would say, okay, at one point today in practice, at this one point, I will force myself to be more aggressive and try to make something happen. This is going to be very uncomfortable for you in the beginning, I'll warn you, if you're struggling right now to have confidence when you have the ball in your hand or when you need to make a play. But just try to set that objective, set that goal of, all right, just one time today I want to be more aggressive. And when you do that, what do you think will start to happen? Well, either A, you'll be aggressive and you'll make mistakes, which is fine, because now you have something to learn. You can't learn about how you can execute a skill better if you're holding yourself back and hesitating on that skill. You can only work on it and learn from it if you do it and then you fail, right? You mess up. And that's okay as long as you learn. But B, the other thing that could happen is you do it well, and then that's going to increase your confidence. And the way that you can translate this to a game is the same way. You say, okay, during this one moment in a game, I'm going to try to force myself to be a little bit more aggressive. And like I said, you will be uncomfortable. This is pushing you out of your comfort zone. Right now, your comfort zone is playing a little bit more timidly, holding yourself back, not being as confident. You're just trying to be more aggressive. And the reason that we're focusing on being aggressive and not saying feel as confident as you can feel right now is because, once again, the confidence that you have when you play is more of a byproduct of the success you've had in the past, the thinking that you have in the present, your attention in the present. So the confidence is more of just a byproduct. So you want to focus on all these small little actions. Focus on one objective when you play. Make sure that you are giving attention more to the positives after practices and then end games. And then in practice, and also you can begin doing this in games, give yourself something, or give yourself a time where you can be more aggressive to start getting used to playing aggressively and freely like you want to. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new videos each week on sports psychology and mental training. And if you have any questions that you have about sports psychology, mental training that you'd like me to make a video on, please leave them in the comments below.